Okay, thank you. I had no idea when I said I'd do it September 7th that this was going to be the first one. But anyway, before I get started, I have to warn Mike Curl I have a microphone on, and anything he says will be recorded. So watch yourself back there. So everybody did have a chance to, I'm going to start by demonstrating how this works. So everybody had a chance to go and do the pre-lecture. All right, good. So imagine that you are at least in one of our biology classes, and you have an iClicker that's registered to you, and you come into class, and I'm going to give you a couple of questions. So the first question is, which of these phylogenetic trees is different? Don't answer, just give you 30 more seconds. Okay, now what I'm going to do is call out the letters, and you raise your hand. Now be honest, okay? It's all right if you're wrong. Don't look around and see how your peers voted. How many would answer A? B? C? D? E? Okay, so we've got some disagreements here, so I'm going to stop right now, turn to your neighbor, and if you agree on D, explain why. But there's some people that suggested other things. So explain how you came up with the answer you did to your neighbor.
I nodded in my head furiously.
Oh, okay, good. That's right. So you can continue to eat. Do the important thing. All right, 15 seconds. Okay. I'm going to ask, okay, so a lot of people said D. How many people think D is the correct answer? How many think it's another answer? Harry, which one do you think?
I'm guessing this is a trick question.
No, this one's not, honest.
No, why don't
You, which one, what do you think is the correct answer?
I took a shot at B.
A shot. Why did you shoot at B?
Just kind of let my brain go on autopilot. You know.
And it's hard to eat and think at the same time.
What's that one track versus fish was shared and one was naked?
Okay, but let me ask you something. Thank you, Harry, for being a guinea pig. What would happen if I took this and just swapped them around? Would that be comparable?
You mean on B?
Yeah,
Swap the B.
right. Swap. Thank you, Frank. Swap this over here. If I just switch those around, you're going to get one is down there. See that? Those of you who answered D, what was the dead giveaway? Biologists can't answer.
You've got, instead of all the others are branching away, where you've got 3, 4, 5 branches together. By the way, I didn't do pre-lecture.
Okay, what about the pre-lecture is relevant here? Yeah, Brian.
Two sets of sister.
That's right. That's the key thing you look at, the sister taxa. Remember, sister taxa share a common ancestor. And so in this, if we start out with 1, what's key here is 5 and 6 are sister taxa, all right? They're sister taxa in all of these, all right? So that's okay. But then you see right away this one, 2 and 3 are sister taxa. 2 and 3 are not sister taxa in any of these. At least that's how I look at it, okay? All right, so we did all right except for the psychologists. But all right, here's another question for you. So this is the phylogeny that you saw in the pre-lecture, and the question is, provide the name of the taxon that is the ancestor of sister taxa 2 and 3. And you have 3 choices to think about. Okay, by show of hands, how many of you think the answer is A? Okay, how many of you think the answer is B? How many of you think the answer is C? Okay, very good. I did mention this in the pre-lecture, but the terminology when you start using phylogenetics is it's very precise and it's important. And the ancestor of 2 and 3 is implied with this lineage right here, okay? But that's not named, okay? Now, if I'd asked who's the closest living relative of 2 and 3, taxon 4 would be right, okay? And so so this is an important question so that you can understand what phylogenies show and what phylogenies don't. Okay, now I was delighted to hear two things. I've made use of a couple of points here, is that I gave you some pretty straightforward passive information through the pre-lecture, okay? But it's critically important passive information, all right? And I could have gotten up and just lectured to you. But I let you listen to that ahead of time. And I asked 2 questions that, at least in my mind, I think get at some of the major misconceptions or some of the major misreads or whatever about material. And when I asked you to share with your neighbor, the room exploded, okay? Come to biology lecture with over 100 students and you'll see that, all right? And so, you know, immediately off the bat, I think one of the advantages of this technology is that it engages the students more in that material immediately, okay? And it also, one of the, I don't know how much you pay attention to a lot of the pedagogical cognitive language, or research, but I think one of the things that's really clear that's coming up time and time again, one of the most important things we can do when we teach is address misconceptions. You can tell a student to turn left 100 times and they're going to turn right, okay? Until you figure out a way to get at the root of that misconception, you know, it's going to persist. And so I think this technology is very useful for this alone. Now, okay, now one of the things I always do is after I have the questions, and by the way, questions in which you get disagreements, you know, in class, that's what you want. You know, that's when you hit in between well, actually you don't just tell them the answer, you let them work it out. Okay, that's the best way. And so what then I always do is then, whatever the pre-lecture slides are, I have them available so that if I'll ask if there are questions, or if there's something that clearly wasn't clear in the pre-lecture, then I can go over it. So I have that ready to go over. Now, a few points that I want to make. We only have 20 minutes. There's some people in here that have actually used this before, and I want to give plenty of time for just discussion. I mean, this is sometimes called inverted classroom. I refer to this as pre-lecture. What's the other name, Michelle, you were telling me? I'm sorry, I asked as your mouth is full. What's that? Learn before lecture. But this is, I think, it's not appropriate for everything, okay? I'll be up front. but it's very appropriate for information that's really content specific, graphs, mechanism, processes. I've seen physicists use it, engineers use it. In biology, when we're explaining things like phylogenies, meiosis, these kinds of things that typically you go up to the board or your PowerPoint or whatever, and you just do it and you explain it to them. Okay? You can record this incredibly easily now. I happen to use, well, I'll get to that in a minute. So this allows you then to address misconceptions. Now, an important thing is that students get instantaneous feedback. All right, and so our iClickers in that way are really important because the students then enter their responses, and we can see right away if there's serious disagreement, or if everybody gets it right, then move on. So that's important. One of the things that I've encountered that I did not anticipate is students with disabilities love it, because they have the ability to stop it, go back and forth, slow it down, whatever. They really appreciate that. Now, I'll be honest with you and tell you, have we done any true assessment of its effectiveness? No. We have asked students, do they like it? Sure, they love it. We try a lot of things in our introduction to biology, and we don't exactly parse it out to assess if it's aiding their cognitive abilities. My own sense is it helps. And I think my colleagues that teach in that course feel like it does help them grasp with material.